It wasn't something I could point to right away. Not a single moment, not a specific word. It was more like a slow pressure, the kind you don't notice until you're already having trouble breathing. My wife Carol passed in the spring of 2019. Pancreatic cancer. 6 weeks from diagnosis to gone. We'd been married 41 years, and I want to tell you that I handled her death with grace and dignity. But the truth is, I sat in our kitchen for 3 days, eating crackers and watching the clock like it owed me something. The house felt enormous. Not because it was big, it was a modest 3-bedroom on Clover Street in Dayton, Ohio. The same house we'd bought in 1994 when our son was 7 years old. It felt enormous because she wasn't in it anymore. My son called every evening that first month. He lives in Columbus, about an hour and a half east, and he'd married his wife 4 years before Carol passed. I liked her well enough at the wedding. She was put together, confident, the kind of woman who always seemed to know which fork to use. My son had met her through work. She was in marketing. He was in IT. They moved fast, dating 8 months. Engaged, married within 2 years. Carol had some reservations she kept mostly to herself. I told her every couple finds their own pace. The evening calls from my son were good for a while. We'd talk about nothing important, sports, the weather, what I'd cooked for dinner. He'd ask how I was sleeping. I'd say fine even when I wasn't. Sometime around October, about 5 months after Carol died, he started mentioning the house. Not directly. That's what I want you to understand. It was never direct. He'd say things like, "That's a lot of house for one person, Dad." Or, "You know the property values on Clover Street have really gone up." Or once, toward the end of that year, he said, "A guy at work sold his place and moved into a condo near his kids. Said it was the best decision he ever made." I told him I appreciated the thought, but I was fine. Then his wife started joining the calls. She was warmer than I expected, actually, asking about my health, saying they worried about me rattling around alone. She mentioned that their house in Columbus had a finished basement, basically its own apartment, she said. Private entrance, full bathroom, a little kitchenette. They'd been using it for storage, but it wouldn't take much to clear it out. I said that was very kind, but I wasn't ready to make any decisions. She said, "Of course. No pressure. They just wanted me to know the offer was there." I believed her. That's the part I keep coming back to. I genuinely believed her. By March of 2020, when everything shut down, I was alone in that house for weeks at a stretch. My neighbor Roy would wave from across the street sometimes. My sister was in Arizona. I'm not going to pretend the isolation didn't wear on me, because it did. I was 67 years old, sleeping in a bed that still smelled faintly of Carol's shampoo, eating soup from a can, watching the news until 2 in the morning, when my son called in April and said, "Dad, just come stay with us for a while. We'll set up the basement, please." I said I'd think about it. I thought about it for 3 weeks. I made a list, which Carol always said was how I avoided making decisions. I looked at the list for a long time. Then I packed a bag and drove to Columbus. That first summer was genuinely nice. I want to be honest about that too. My son would grill on Saturdays. His wife made a rosemary chicken I still think about. They have 2 kids, a boy who was 9 at the time and a girl who was 6, and those grandchildren were the best thing in my life. The boy liked baseball. The girl liked dinosaurs with a level of passion that I found both impressive and slightly alarming. I took them to the park. I helped with homework. On rainy days, we'd build things out of cardboard boxes and tape. The basement apartment was exactly what they'd described. Private, quiet. I kept my own hours. My son and I watched football on Sunday afternoons. For the first time since Carol died, I didn't feel like I was disappearing. My son mentioned in August that I should think about selling the Clover Street house. He said the market was unusual, prices were up. It was a seller's moment, and holding on to an empty house was expensive when you factored in taxes and insurance and upkeep. He said the money from the sale could sit in my account earning interest, and that I clearly wasn't going back to Dayton to live. He wasn't wrong about any of that. I sat with it for a while. In October, I listed the house. It sold in 11 days for considerably more than I'd paid for it. After everything, the mortgage payoff, the realtor fees, the repairs I'd made before listing, I cleared about $240,000. I put it in my savings account. That was my money, mine and Carol's. The whole life we'd built together. Things shifted, and I want to be precise here, around February of the following year. My son and his wife sat down with me one evening after the kids were in bed. They had that energy couples have when they've rehearsed something. They told me they were looking at a bigger house, a neighborhood with better schools, and that the Columbus real estate market being what it was, they were about $30,000 short of the down payment they needed to feel comfortable. They weren't asking, my son said. They just wanted to be transparent because I was family and they didn't keep secrets. But the way he looked at me after he said that, I thought about it for a week. I thought about the grandchildren and the schools and the backyard my son described. I thought about how much Carol would have wanted those kids to have stability. I thought about $240,000 sitting in an account I wasn't using for anything in particular. I gave them $30,000. I told them it was a gift, not a loan. And I meant it. My son shook my hand, and his wife hugged me and said I was the most generous man she'd ever known. They found a house in Westerville. Beautiful neighborhood, 4 bedrooms, a real backyard, a finished attic. They moved in May. The basement arrangement transferred seamlessly. My space at the new house was actually nicer, a walkout unit with its own little patio where I could sit in the mornings with my coffee. I was contributing. That's the part I want to be clear about. I wasn't sitting there with my hand out. I bought groceries twice a week, good groceries, the kind that stocked a full kitchen. I picked the kids up from school 3 days a week because my daughter-in-law's hours had gotten longer and my son's commute was unpredictable. I helped with the yard. When the dishwasher broke in September, I didn't say a word. I just called a repairman and paid for it. When the boy needed new cleats for baseball season and then again for fall soccer, I bought them. I was there. I was part of that house. My retirement income. I'd worked 30 years as an operations manager for a logistics company, and between my pension and Social Security, I was bringing in about $3,100 a month was mine. I used it for my own expenses. Gas, a dinner out sometimes, new clothes when I needed them, doctor visits. I was not a burden. My son mentioned, casually, around November, that the mortgage on the new house was tighter than they'd expected. Interest rates. He didn't ask for anything. He just mentioned it. Then his wife mentioned it at dinner the following week. She mentioned that the utilities on the new house were higher than their previous place. Square footage, she said. Gas bills, especially in winter. She was matter-of-fact about it, conversational. I noticed she was looking at her plate when she said it. I started paying $300 a month toward utilities. Voluntarily. I brought it up myself and told them I wanted to help. My son said it wasn't necessary, and I said I wanted to. He said, "Thank you, Dad." His wife smiled her marketing smile. The $300 became $400 by February, when I offered to cover the cable and internet bill too, since I used it as much as anyone. In March, my daughter-in-law started handling my grocery runs through a shared account. She set it up and explained it was more efficient. She could order everything together, and it saved trips. Made sense on paper. I transferred $500 into the shared account each month for groceries. By April, I was contributing something close to $900 a month to the household, not counting the school pickups and the yard work and the appliance repairs and the grandchildren's extracurriculars. I thought we had an understanding. I thought I was earning my place. My son called me one afternoon in May. He called me on the phone, even though I was 40 feet away in the basement, which I noticed and asked if I had time to talk that evening. The phrasing stayed with me all day. We sat at the kitchen table after dinner. His wife sat across from me. My son sat at the end, between us. The kids were upstairs. My daughter-in-law did most of the talking. She said the household expenses had grown considerably, and that with the mortgage and the car payments and the kids' activities, they were feeling stretched. She said she'd done some math. She said the basement unit, if they were to rent it to a tenant on the open market, would easily bring in $1,500 a month in the current Columbus rental market, probably closer to $1,700 or $1,800. She said she wasn't saying that's what they wanted to do. She said she was just being transparent. My son was looking at the table. She said she thought it would be fair. The word she used was fair. If I contributed $1,000 a month toward my space, in addition to the groceries and utilities I was already covering. I sat there for a moment. I asked what my son thought. He said he thought she made some valid points. I want to tell you I said something sharp and perfect. I want to tell you I stood up and delivered some kind of speech. Instead, I said I'd think about it. And I went downstairs, and I sat on my little patio in the dark, and I thought about $30,000 and 2 years of groceries and 4 years of showing up. I didn't sleep well that night. I lay there, and I thought about Carol. I thought about what she would say. She would have said it in 2 sentences. Probably. And they would have been the right 2 sentences. I'm not as economical as she was. I started keeping track after that. I wrote things down. Not for any particular reason at first, it was just something to do with the restlessness. But the numbers started to clarify things for me. In the 14 months since they'd moved to the Westerville house, I had contributed, in cash and in services, somewhere between $22,000 and $25,000 to their household. On top of the $30,000 gift, I had provided consistent childcare 3 days a week, which at any reasonable rate would have cost them another $8,000 to $10,000. I had paid for repairs, clothes, school supplies, sports fees, birthday presents, Christmas, the backyard swing set I'd bought in August because the kids wanted one, $1,000 a month on top of all that. I called my sister in Arizona. Her name is Patricia, and she was Carol's closest friend as well as my sister, which is a combination that produces very blunt advice. She listened for about 20 minutes without saying anything. Then she said, "You know what they're doing, right?" I said I thought I did. She said, "Don't ask permission for things that are already yours." I let another week pass. In that week, my daughter-in-law texted me twice friendly texts, normal texts, nothing about the conversation. My son brought me a cup of coffee one morning and asked how I was sleeping, and I said fine. It was almost like the conversation hadn't happened. Then she asked again, this time at breakfast. Just the 2 of us. My son already at work. She was very pleasant about it. She poured my coffee and sat down and said she wanted to revisit the discussion because she felt like it had maybe landed wrong, and she wanted to be clear that they appreciated everything I did. Then she asked, when I thought I might be able to start contributing the additional amount. I put my cup down. I said, I've given you $30,000. I give you $400 a month in utilities and internet. I give you $500 a month for groceries. I've spent over $20,000 on this household in 14 months. I pick up your children from school 3 days a week, every week, without fail. I do not owe you rent. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said she understood I'd done a lot and they were grateful, but that circumstances had changed and they needed to look at things practically. I said I was also being practical. She said they might need to revisit the living arrangement if we couldn't come to an agreement. She said it the way people say things they've been planning to say for a while. I called Patricia again that afternoon. She said, where do you want to be in 6 months? Figure that out and work backwards. It was good advice. I sat with it. That evening I told my son I wanted to have a conversation. Just us. He looked like he'd been expecting it. We drove to a diner about 2 miles from the house neutral ground, which felt a little sad, and we sat in a booth and ordered coffee. I told him I loved him. I told him I'd loved being close to the grandchildren and that nothing would change that. And then I told him that what had been asked of me was not fair. I laid out the numbers, all of them. My son is not a stupid man. He knew the numbers. He looked uncomfortable in a way that told me he'd known for a while and had been choosing not to say anything. He said his wife handled most of the finances. I said I understood that. I said it also wasn't relevant. He said she was under a lot of pressure. I said I was 68 years old and I'd been a widower for 3 years, and I'd sold my home and given him $30,000, and I was picking up his children from school 3 days a week. And if anyone at this table had been under pressure without complaint, I thought we both knew who that was. He didn't say anything for a long time. He stirred his coffee. He said, I know, Dad. Quiet. 2 words. I believe. He meant them. I told him I'd been thinking about my options. I'd spoken to a real estate agent. I did this without telling anyone and looked at 2-bedroom condos in the area. I had enough from the Clover Street sale, even after everything, to buy something outright. No mortgage. Mine. I told him I thought that was probably the right move. He looked like he was going to argue, and then he looked like he wasn't. He asked if I was angry. I thought about that. I said I wasn't angry the way people mean when they ask that. I was clear. There's a difference. Anger is what you feel when you're surprised. I hadn't been surprised in quite a while. I want to tell you what happened with my daughter-in-law after that, but the truth is there wasn't much of a scene. She was too controlled for scenes. When I told them both, together, that I'd be moving into my own place in 8 weeks, she said she was sorry to hear that and hoped it wasn't because of any misunderstanding. I said it wasn't a misunderstanding at all, and I let the silence sit there. Those 8 weeks were strange, polite and strange. She was cordial. My son was quieter than usual. The grandchildren didn't know anything was changing until about 2 weeks before I left, when I sat them down and explained that Grandpa was getting his own house nearby, which honestly I sold as exciting news because it was a nice condo in a complex with a pool, and the boy immediately asked if they could swim there, and I said absolutely, anytime you want. I found a 2-bedroom condo in Dublin, about 12 minutes from their house. 2nd floor, south-facing, good light. I paid for it outright. Put the remaining money back in my account where it belonged. Moved in on a Thursday in late September. The first morning I woke up in my own place. I made my own coffee in my own kitchen, and I sat at my own table, and I read the paper for an hour without anyone needing anything from me. It felt like something I'd forgotten I was allowed to have. The grandchildren came to swim the following Saturday. My son brought them. He stayed for a while, and we sat by the pool in the October sun and watched the kids cannonball into the water. And it was easy between us in a way it hadn't been in months. He said, "This is a good place, Dad." I said I thought so too. He said he was sorry things had gotten complicated. I said things get complicated sometimes. I left it at that. I see the kids twice a week now. Minimum. Sometimes 3 times. I pick them up on Wednesdays still, I offered. I wanted to, and we stopped for ice cream on the way home. The boy is deep into baseball statistics, which means we have 2 hours of material every Wednesday afternoon. The girl has moved from dinosaurs into marine biology, which she describes with the same intensity, and I am here for every word of it. My son texts me most days. We've had some harder conversations since the move, honest ones. The kind you can only have when nobody needs anything from each other. He's admitted that things moved in a direction he should have noticed sooner. I believe him. He's a good man who let someone else make decisions he should have been part of. I don't have a prescription for that situation. I've just decided it's not mine to fix. His wife is civil, polite. We will probably never be close, and I've made peace with that. She got what she needed, and I lost what I let go of. And now we've both recalibrated. There's nothing dramatic left to say. What I'll tell you, because I think it's the part that matters most, is this. I gave from love, and that part was right. What was wrong was believing that love required me to hollow myself out indefinitely, that there was no floor below which I was not expected to give more. I confused being generous with being available for whatever anyone needed, and I confused keeping the peace with actually having peace. I'm 68 years old. I live 12 minutes from my grandchildren. I have a 2nd bedroom. I'm turning into a little reading room. I have a patio where I drink my coffee in the morning, and I do not check my phone until I'm ready. I have money in an account with my name on it that is going to stay there. Carol would have said I took too long to get here. She would have been right. She usually was. But I got here, and I am not going anywhere.